Hell of a thing. This is an update. We have a cop who decided to attack a man who was already in compliance while on the ground. We now have an update by our video. Show the steal. Our video shows an Ohio officer running up and kicking a black male as he was kneeling on the ground with his hands up and complying with officers. No debate about that. His police chief is now defending what cannot be defended. Our video, corroborated by newly released body cam footage, shows an Ohio cop running up to a black male as he knelt on the ground with his hands in the air and kicking him while he was, in fact, complying. Jaemiier McElroy ended up hospitalized with a concussion, according to his attorney. He was arrested on charges of obstructing official business and resisting arrest. But the video shows he was neither resisting arrest nor obstructing anything that could be considered official business. But Canton Police Chief John Gabbard decided to defend this cop, whose name is Brandon McElroy, by saying, quote, our officers frequently face stressful, dangerous situations and confrontations with armed suspects. Their dedication to the community has resulted in exceptional reductions in violence, especially gun violence, over the past 2 years, Gabbard said in a statement to the media. Now, since the chief wants to hop his happy ass on television and provide a quote to become the de facto defense attorney, let's go ahead and deal with it, Chief. So basically, you say nothing to the rights of the citizens, which basically you are supposed to uphold. You said nothing of the activity of the officer. You said nothing of the actual criminal issue at hand. All you did was defend the actions of the cop under your leadership, and then provided a pivot to statistical data as if the community should ignore the constitutional violations visited upon citizens who do not supposed to be arrested and do not supposed to have their rights violated. They should ignore that because you've done, well, what you're paid to do, which is fight crime. It makes no sense. The fact that you provided this defense without any real investigative prowess shows exactly where your mind is at. You are willing to play renegade cop and protect renegade cop for the sake of your statistical data quote.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
There's more. But the attorney of Mr. McElroy, Bob DiCello, said the chief's statement was, quote, laughable. Considering the attorney is representing 6 separate cases of police abuse committed by Canton police alone over the past 2 years, including 3 that resulted in fatalities and 3 resulting in serious injuries, including the most recent incident with Mr. McElroy. Quote, there's a group of people in Canton that are law enforcement officers who are treating ordinary citizens like enemy combatants, the attorney said. Quote, if this was in another context, you would say that's a crime spree. The incident took place last Saturday night after someone called 911 about 8:30 p.m. took a plane about a group of 10 to 15 people arguing outside within an apartment complex. The dispatcher posed a question to the caller if they had seen any weapons or if any of the individuals were getting violent. But the caller said no to both questions, which eliminates the chief's defense of the cop. That's according to Fox 8 News. Canton police said that when they pulled up to the scene, multiple people started running away, including one suspect who, quote, carried a gun that was plainly visible to the pursuing officer, end quote, according to the Canton report. Quote, the pursuit was discontinued without an apprehension. And Canton stated without offering further explanation, a witness recorded the video, which lasted only 24 seconds, but showed multiple cops stepping out of their patrol cars with guns drawn, ordering 3 black men on their knees. Quote, "Get on the ground, on your knees, right now," the officers demanded. The men immediately complied with their orders. Then seconds later, here comes the criminal cop, in my opinion, running up from behind the other cops, and he decides to kick Mr. McElroy in the head. So what do we have so far? We have a 911 call. There's an argument. So the person who calls 911 provides information that says no weapons are involved. Nobody has become violent. Likely the person who called 911 was under the impression that the Canton police may attempt to de-escalate before it became a violent criminal matter, not knowing that the only criminal action would be done by the Canton police themselves, that the only violent action that would be done would be the very police who were called to the scene. You know, if police commit crimes, it is still a crime. And the attorney is correct when he said, under any other context, you would call these cops a crime spree. There's more. Previous incidents. Before I get to previous incidents, officials later did release the camera footage and another officer that shows what prompted the cops to arrive to the scene after a brief chase after the suspect accused of carrying a gun. The officer sees McElroy, who they know was not carrying a gun, and 4 others in a parking lot and demands that they stop walking. Then he calls for backup. Now remember, everybody is complying. Quote, "I got 5 at gunpoint in this parking lot, not really complying." What the hell does that mean? "I could use more units," he says, although the cell phone video shows that McElroy and the others immediately followed his orders, and Mom Irov runs right for McElroy without provocation. So here is the place where I believe premeditation happened. When the cop says, "I have 5 not really complying," I believe that was the pretext to create the context for him to do the criminal act that he did, so that he can justify by saying, when I called it in, I said they weren't really complying. "This is disgusting. This is disgusting," said DiCello. "What I just saw was renegade, rogue, gang-style policing." One of the men on the ground, believed to be McElroy's brother, can be heard asking, quote, "Why you hit my brother like that, bro?" "Because he's not complying," the cop responds, unsatisfied with that answer. The cop is once again asked why he kicked McElroy. Quote, "How many times did I tell you to get on the ground?" The cop replies. "You guys don't want to listen, that's fine," another officer tells the suspect. "Then don't be surprised when we put our hands on you," end quote. You see, remember, there's an attorney who's representing multiple cases of police misconduct where citizens have been violated by these same cops. And a couple of them have already ended in fatality. The cop is representing the family. Previous incidents. Canton police, under public scrutiny, after shooting and killing a black man named James Williams on New Year's Eve 2022, who had been shooting celebratory gunfire into the air. However, a grand jury declined to indict the Canton cop, Officer Robert Huber, in September 2022. Canton police then shot and killed a 24-year-old man named Zachary J. Fornish. That was December 2023. He was carrying a pellet gun. Then earlier this year, in April, Mr. Frank Tyson, 53 years of age, died in police custody after he repeatedly told officers, quote, "I can't breathe." Tyson's death was ruled a homicide by the coroner's office, meaning the cops caused it. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations, which handles investigations for the Ohio Attorney General's office, is investigating the two latter fatalities, according to the Cleveland scene. Then in May of this year, a Canton police officer unleashed a canine German Shepherd on a man named Kevin Conver, who was already lying face down on the ground, being held down by the cops. Mr. Conver had been pulled over for the high crime of failing to signal before pulling over. But then police said he had a gun in the car. However, that cop, Nicholas Castro, was fired in June over that incident. Attorney DiCello told NBC News that Canton police also, quote, arrested and punched a man and called him horrific names when he tried to stop the dog attack. Chief Gabbard indicated in his statement that the cop would be disciplined in an investigation determined if the investigation determined he violated policy or the law, which is definitely how it appears on video. Quote, officers using force outside the parameters of our training, policy, and principles will be held accountable, he said. However, DiCello, who represents the 5 above cases, is skeptical, especially after the last video. It should not be lost on anyone that after officers attacked him and hospitalized him, they issued charges which find no support in the video, he said in a statement. One of those charges, resisting arrest, is not justified by the video. Mr. Jaemiier is on his knees with his hands in the air when he is kicked in the head by an officer who charges at him. Here we go again. See, on policy, everything is right, paper-wise. They have a de-escalation protocol. They have a training manual. They have a boot camp for cops. They're told how to de-escalate. They're told what is usable as far as tactics, what is illegal. But as I say often, culture eats policy alive every day of the week. We saw something very similar in Mississippi when we covered out of control cops who were breaking not only the law, they were breaking jurisdictional boundaries. They were connected with other cops, not even part of their own jurisdiction, in order to commit criminal acts against Black citizens in particular. It seems like this attorney who's representing multiple victims, multiple families, multiple cases against one police department has hit on something very similar. Sharon, I heard you as I read some of the content to what's happening now. This is the stuff that we have on record only because a video was included. Imagine how many times this has happened when no video has been offered contrary to the evidence provided by the police report.
Yeah, they probably didn't go through their body cam because they probably had it then too if they were wearing it, if they didn't turn it off. I don't believe that justice will be served in my former state of Ohio, where I spent 10 years. I can assure you it will not be. It is time for the federal government, the Justice Department, to step in here. It's systemic, and you're right. Canton Chief, his statement was asinine.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's referring to facts that are not supported. He's talking about another case. Perhaps he was confused. It's asinine, and I don't want to hear any more about how they're fired. Waiting for the arrest here. Criminals. Right. They called 911, Doc, and the criminal showed up.
That's right. That's the irony of the whole damn thing. We're paying for services that become catalysts to our own oppression because everybody pays taxes. That 911 caller paid taxes, and also the individuals who were assaulted. All right, but we'll bring you updates as they come.